Oof.
What a clap.
What a clap. Okay. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Stage Time, the podcast that takes you backstage before the artist goes on stage. We're here once again at St. Pancras Clock Tower ahead of the monthly live music night we host here called Live from the Clock Tower. And today we have Nick Wilson.
Hello.
Welcome.
I was about to say welcome back. Don't know why.
Thank you, Nick, for having me on your podcast.
Please, let's do this back and forth for an hour.
This isn't your first time in the Clock Tower. We've just figured out.
Yeah.
So this is your second time.
First time playing.
Okay, yeah, this will be the first time tonight.
But second time being within the confines
of
the Clock Tower.
The Clock Tower. Okay,
yes,
well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back as well, yeah.
Amazing. So this podcast is all about basically performing live, being a musician, how are we all crazy enough to do this for a living, etc.
Yes.
So take us back, Nick.
Okay.
What was your start? What was the gem and the spark of your kind of momentum into the music industry?
Damn, you worded that so well.
It was all, honestly, it was just falling on my head being like, please make this sound good.
That's why you're a songwriter, mate. That's why you're a songwriter.
Mic drop. They're expensive. Let's not drop those.
Smash. I don't actually know what the specific gem or like spark was.
Give me something.
Okay, let me just think of anything. No, when I was younger, I grew up around a lot of music. So it was always in the family. None of my family members were like actually sort of musicians in the sense that like doing it to make money, but there was always music, a lot of Mariah Carey, classic.
Strong, which I can see is seeped into your music no end.
Exactly, yeah, I am Mariah Carey, yeah.
Whereabouts is this in the UK? Yeah, you grew up in the UK?
Yes, yeah, in the UK, just outside of London.
Okay.
So a lot of music around me, and I think I started doing covers when I was younger in like year 9. So what is that? Year 9, that's like 14? Yeah, let's go with that, yeah. Around 14, doing covers, things like that, putting it on YouTube. And then that kind of naturally became like, I'm going to write my own music. And it was terrible. And then it has to be terrible at the start. And then it kind of just became like slowly, in my eyes, not terrible. And I just started releasing stuff. But there wasn't like, I don't think I have like a specific point where it's like, yes, music.
Well, it sounds like you
mean?
had just kind of underlying feeling, this is probably what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think it was
which
that.
I relate to.
Yes.
I don't think there's an epiphany moment of waking up and go, let's do music.
Exactly,
it just always kind of was a given, I think.
Yeah, it's just like there. And then you're like, because I think like also it's not the right industry, right, to just like suddenly be like, I'm going to do this, because like, why would you ever, if you
starve.
Do you know what I mean?
You would perish.
You wouldn't be able to do anything because of money, but
and crippling anxiety
for everyone. But like there's like a thing where it's like I think everyone at some point like was musical in some way before they decided like I want to do this, or before they even like, I don't know about you, but like I didn't even really know that it was a thing to like do music as a career. I just liked music when I was a kid, so yeah, there's a bit of that really.
Did you ever do bands? Was it always a solo thing for you, or?
I never did bands, but that's such a funny question. I was in a school rock band, right, and it was called the School Rock Band until we gave it a name, which was
meta as hell.
It's pretty deep, bro. We actually, no, I lie. We gave it a name eventually, and it was called Feed Me Rock.
Nice. Hardcore.
Kind of hardcore, right? We were in year, what was it, 4?
Oh, gee.
So
okay,
I'm talking like young, right? This is so funny.
Recorder band? Was it like a?
No, I'm talking like guitars, like singing. There was like 12 people in it. Classic for any rock band, you know. You got to have 12 people. Too many people to do anything.
Looking back on that, financially would never work out.
Pretty crazy. Touring was wild, yeah. But we had a school, my teacher at school called Mr. Hanky. I'm not joking.
Hanky Panky.
Mr. Hanky.
I hope there was none of that.
There wasn't. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't. You know?
I thought you were about to give me.
Could you imagine?
Just trauma dumped by me massively.
Lord. No.
Okay, well, maybe pass that
we're fine. We're fine. Yeah, Mr. Hanky was great, but he was called Mr. Hanky.
Yeah.
So, but he put together. It was literally like School of Rock.
School of Rock. Yeah.
So I had that, but it was not like serious. And then that do you know what? That probably did impact something.
Sure.
But then
That's
it was
young to have
it's
that
young,
kind
innit?
of
It's young
structure around it, kind of a band setting.
But then no, in terms of like actual like trying to make music, it's always been me, baby.
Yeah.
Just on my own.
Fair play.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think also I did the band thing growing up as well, which is fun.
Yeah.
And there are times now as a solo artist where I'm like, it's
Yeah.
quite nice to have like
The support
group around
of it.
you, support of you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the politics.
I could imagine, man.
Just no.
Yeah, I bet. I part of me would love to do a band thing,
Yeah.
but having never done it, I'm like, I don't know what to expect.
Have you gigged, toured, or whatever with a band? Or has it always been just solo?
I've gigged with a small band, never toured with a band. I kind of like to do things solo just for money. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
But
it works, it works.
And if it works, it works. But so no, I've never like lived the life of like in a band, do you know what I mean, to any degree. So it's like would fully be new to me. But
I think it's an interesting, if anyone's listening who's kind of like starting out, especially, there's an interesting dynamic, I think, when you're hiring musicians, essentially, when they're session musicians, and I've worked with some incredible session musicians, all lovely people. But it is an odd dynamic because you're kind of paying to have friends.
It's a different thing. Yeah. I know what you mean.
And they are very professional and so involved.
Yeah.
But if they're part of your actual band artist project, it's a different kind of feel to it, I think.
It's a closer, like, not closer, but like a more tight-knit, like, relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Until, the bigger touring session bands and stuff, obviously they become family, I guess.
Of course, yeah. If you're on the road for like a billion years, like you're going to be close by the end of it. So, yeah.
So you said you've toured. So where have you toured? Have you done Europe? Have you done outside of Europe? UK?
I've done UK a couple of times. Europe, I've not done States. I'd love to do the States. I've done one show in LA and it was a Sofa Sounds, which was amazing and so fun, but it was
love them.
It wasn't like a big sort of actual thing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do that. But yeah, Europe, the UK, things like that. I've never done a headline tour.
Yeah.
I've only done support tours. So I've done shows around, but yeah, support tours the whole way up until this point. So
and what kind of artists were you supporting?
The last one I did was last year, an American artist called Ingrid Andress, who is amazing, insane, incredible. And that's like, I would say, kind of country pop stuff.
What's the song? More Hearts Than Mine?
Yeah.
It's a song I wish I wrote.
So
big time.
Honestly, like seeing her live every night was like every song was a song where I was like, damn. And she wrote that, was it Boys? Charlie XCX. And so she was doing
incredible writer,
Incredible writer. So that was like honestly such a fun tour to just like be a part of. So that was like a few weeks around Europe, places I'd never been, like Sweden, stuff like that, which was fun. And then like UK stuff, I've done a lot of touring with Gabriel Aplin, who's lovely, best person ever. St. Raymond, what a king. Just
amazing.
Just a classic little bunch of UK artists there, you know. List them off. Yeah.
And so I love the idea of support tours. I love playing support tours. The pressure's off you mainly. You get to basically snatch a crowd.
100%.
You obviously have to work crowds in different locations, different languages, different cities. Let's talk on that maybe for a second.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Is it nerve-wracking for you? Do you have, this will be the first time I'm seeing you play this evening live. Stage patty? Are you trying some? Are you kind of feeling the temperature of the crowd? Or
Yeah. I love it, right? But I don't think it's for any like legitimate reason of like, do you know what I mean? Like it's just because firstly I love the fact that there's no pressure, and it's like a support tour for me is like you get to go on where really like no one in that crowd knows who you are. Like occasionally there'll be like some fans of yours there that might have straggled in, you know, but
cross-pollination of the two genres, maybe.
Good word.
It's not my first podcast,
good
word.
So I love the like the cliche thing of like winning over a crowd. You know what I mean? But not for like. Not that it's like methodical or like I'm going to do this, I'm going to try this out. I think it's just like because of the lack of any pressure. It's just, I don't know, I find it easier to just kind of be yourself on a stage. And the one thing about me when I perform is that I don't really have any filter in the in-between bits. Like I'm incapable of, I'm like,
What a dangerous pairing.
What a dangerous pairing. Us two playing live back to back would be hell on earth.
It's happening this evening.
It's going to be beautiful. Yeah. Oh my God. No, but yeah, and I think there's that part of it that makes it a lot funner to do. Because I think whenever you're doing your own shows, I get in my head a little bit, and then eventually, like halfway through, you relax in, and it's like, okay, but like something about support slots where it's like that from the start, because it's like, really, all I have to do here is a good job, and if I fuck up,
so who cares? Not my problem.
Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe the people who are standing here in front of me will care. Maybe. Oh, that's actually pretty bad. So, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's less of that like internal. What have I done?
You just touched on kind of being yourself, being authentic, I guess, in that regard. Was there ever a question of having a persona as an artist? Another kind of like an alias, perhaps, or because there's been a lot of talk about around Chaperone kind of blowing up recently. She's obviously been around a long time. But hers is a persona project. So there were two very different people between her off stage versus on stage. And she was saying that allows her to switch it on and also detach when she's not on stage. I don't have a persona. I would struggle to do so. What, has there ever been a question mark over yours? Has it always just been you?
Good question. I am the same as you. Like I think, I don't know, something about, it would probably be a lot easier, right? Like if you could switch into something, but I think it's something about the genre of being like the singer-songwriter, like pasty white boy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it wouldn't make sense for me to be like, here's my persona. Like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So, and there's something about writing and playing music that's like personal to you, where I'm like, actually like, and maybe it is the fact that when I started, it was just like a natural progression into it that made it like, oh, I just kind of naturally started writing and then didn't have time to think about whether it was like, oh, do I put it behind this thing or this? It was just like, no, this is just who I am. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think I would struggle to do the persona thing unless I was like hopping into another genre or if I had a band or something like that. But on my own, it's
I think that's a natural way. Maybe that's obviously there are so fewer bands than there used to be, and hopefully it comes back again. But I guess it's easier as a band you need a collective name. You can't just have your name. And
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it would be a joke's name, to be fair, if you were a whole band and then it was just like
just your name,
or just like one of those like old 40s things of like Nick Wilson and the Hillbilly Squiggly Boys
Dickie
or something.
Hart and the Pacemakers.
There you go, mate. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So authenticity. You are yourself on stage. You are yourself off stage. When you're touring support tours, are you standing at kind of the merch stand afterwards to meet people? Are you trying to engage with people on that level? What's your MO?
Yeah, I'm kind of a bit like as it comes and whatever sort of happens at a gig. Because if it's a support tour where there's multiple dates, I'm a massive like freak about my voice.
Yes,
I lose it really quickly. Yeah, so I'm like,
do you drink on tour?
No,
are you a partier?
Well, no, not at all. I'll have, if I've got like a few days off, I'll have like a drink. Do you know what I mean? Like a beer. But like if it's like
we're related here.
Yeah, there you go. It's the same thing, right? But because I'm literally, if I have like one drink on like the night before a gig, I'll feel it.
Why is that?
I don't know, because some people, and I respect them so much,
I've toured with bands who cane it so hard,
and then
2 hours sleep, they're drunk on the bus in the morning, rock up, sound check sounds amazing.
And be unbelievable. And it'll be like, that is unreal. I couldn't do that. Like,
but it means also I waste a lot of rider. There's just like so many drinks in the fridge, this and the other.
This is it.
I'll just take it with me, but no one, I don't end up.
Especially when you're doing it, I don't know if you do any touring with band stuff, but like when it's just you, like I have a rider of like lovely food, like hummus and carrots and things. And then it will just be like beer and water. So it'll be like a crate of beer. And I'm like,
I'm not touching it.
I ain't going to drink that. So anyone I'm with, I'll just be like, would you like this? Because I just don't. So yeah, I'm protective of my voice. So sometimes if I'm on a tour, trying to get back to the question here,
please,
if I'm on a tour, I know,
just give me the answers.
Go elsewhere.
I need sound bites. Come on.
So like if I'm on a tour and I've got a show the next day and it's like halfway through the tour and I'm like, my voice hurts, then I will just like dip back to a hotel, dip back to the bus or whatever, and just kind of stay out.
Of you. That's
because I've found that like I will just like talk and then that will fuck my voice more.
I feel like that's one of the worst, especially after a show, you're feeling good. People are coming up to you, hopefully saying you've done a good job. You want to talk, but it's so loud.
It's that.
And I don't know if there's, have you had
that.
vocal training before?
No, I haven't.
Neither
no.
have I. So I just wonder if we're talking from the wrong place.
Maybe, because I'd notice it with talking more than singing.
True. Yeah.
Like if I before gigs like meet someone for like an hour for a drink and I don't drink or do a podcast before the show, then I find that I'm like, oh, that affects my voice more than like doing shows back to back, like nightly. I don't know why that is. Maybe we need to go get vocal lessons. That's probably it, right?
We could probably get a good deal if we go at the same time.
We could just turn up together.
50% off.
50% off.
Each,
or the other way, they'll be like,
more.
More. There's two of you, mate. Yeah.
That's quite funny. Do you have a favourite country city you've toured in, gigged in that really sticks out to you?
Question. I loved Stockholm.
Yes.
I loved it. It was my first time there and I was only there for like 2 days and this was on the Ingrid tour last year. It was just like such a lovely city and I find that the niceness or like enjoyability of a city has like a direct impact of the show.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Or sometimes you'll do like a show that's really fun somewhere where you're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
But like most of the time, if I love the time I'm having in that city, it's just like, I'm well ready to do a show. This is so good. So Stockholm is that. Went to the Vasa Museum, which is like a big ship.
Nice.
It's sick. Have you ever been?
Not to the Vasa Museum. I went to Stockholm for the first time ever a few months ago.
Yeah.
And had
unreal.
A very spiritual experience.
Love that.
I'm getting choked up actually.
It was so spiritual.
But I was really tired from a flight. I was out there for the first time. I'm vegan, so like traveling and eating sometimes a bit difficult. Found the best like buffet spot overlooking the bay.
Love that.
Just a tear came to my eye.
It's beautiful.
And it is. Everyone feels very relaxed and
it's so nobody, especially as a British person, you're like, I'm expecting everyone to be like, but no one's like that. It's great.
Playing in Austria for me was I've met a lot of lovely Austrians. This is not a generalization, but I've had as soon as they hear you're British, you're in for a ride.
You're in for a ride.
Yeah.
I've never played in Austria. Maybe I've got to book a billion shows in Austria now.
Vienna's a vibe. There's some other beautiful places. But and also with I guess there's no language barrier in Stockholm. They all speak incredible English.
Everyone does. It's one of the...
Well, everywhere does, really. Yeah.
Embarrassing traveling as a really British person. You're like,
Do you try and do you come to stage with any kind of like language, a bit of this, bit of that? Do you come with any...
Dude, I would offend everyone if I tried language stuff in different cities. To be fair, the closest I get is like just talking about... It's a classic joke. If you just talk about something in that city that you know they're going to love. Whenever I'm in Amsterdam...
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, talk about the double-decker trains, man.
Yeah.
And they love it. And I love it. I love a double-decker train.
Yeah.
But it's just but I'll never try and... Maybe one day I will, but I do not have a good grasp of any language. I usually lean
into the lack of language I have.
That works.
And I'll just use the same word for everything.
That's fair enough.
Just use it as an exclamation, as a welcome, as a goodbye, as a thank you.
It depends what word you're using.
It does depend. And there are some countries I can't go back to now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about creativity a bit.
Good idea. Yeah, let's do it.
I find the idea of creativity is something that I've really been kind of reading up on and exploring a lot more recently. Where does yours come from? Do you tap into something? Does it arrive without you kind of willing it to? Do you have to really push for it?
Yeah, honestly, that's such a good question, man. I have no clue. Honestly, I'm like, I think I'm very good at, and I always have been like separating like being creative, like in a session or in some position where you have to be creative with like not being creative. So like being at home and then like switching off. Yeah. I've always been quite good at that. So I think that kind of alludes to the fact that I probably just like tap into it when I need to.
It's a muscle you've trained.
It's like a muscle you've trained. But then also I think it's kind of like always there, right? Like I don't actually know if I've ever consciously been like, obviously sometimes, for example, if you're writing a song, you have to be like, okay, this, but like I've never consciously like had to switch into a creative mode. It's just like for example, if I was just like on, I don't know, hanging at someone's house and somebody was like, should we write a song? I'd be like, okay, let's go. Do you know what I mean? It's not like there's a barrier to entry there. Yeah. So it must be there a little bit. I don't know. What about you? Do you find that you have to...
I went through stages. I think I used to be very aware, especially for my own stuff.
Yeah.
6-month cycles of on and off,
Really?
which is now gone completely.
Wow.
And I feel like I've really fallen into a really steady flow of it.
Yeah.
But I now also consciously top it up. So I'm kind of love going to galleries.
Yeah.
Love reading up on something.
Yeah.
Or I'm obsessed with the brain. I'm obsessed with mental health, psychology, and all those things. Reading around that subject with a tilt into creativity is also fascinating for me. And I feel like I just want to fill up that well as much as I can. Because also, I mean, it's really hard to not sound pretentious as a songwriter or creative person.
Yeah.
But it is exhausting. And
For
I mean, it is. There'll be someone maybe listen to this who works a very physically laborious job.
Yeah.
And I'm all props to you. And you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
But we'll both have songwriting sessions where you come home, you're like, oh my word.
Yeah. It'll be like, why am I so tired? And then you're like, well, my brain has been thinking of shit for like 7 hours.
That's the thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. And actually that is true what you said about like, I think when I'm not feeling creative, it's usually because I've been too creative.
Yeah.
And then it's like, replenishing it, just doing stuff that isn't music related whenever you can. But I think I kind of do a good mix of that. I like to think I do. So it hasn't really affected me too much until sometimes when it does, and you're like, okay, I need to take a little break. But replenishing it for sure. That is something that is worth doing.
And you write for other people as well as yourself?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And how do you find the kind of separation between the two, or do they come together?
Yeah, I think I actually find it quite easy to separate, but then obviously it's not, you can't fully separate it because I started off writing as an artist so much, it is like a different muscle, but it's like
you bring some of you into
you bring some of you. And actually I think that's like a good side of writing for other people and being a writer, because like as an artist, when you're in a room with a different producer or writer, I want their voice in it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a reason I'm writing with you in a room, is because I like you as a writer. Or even if I don't know much about you as a writer, like I don't want it, because otherwise it's like I'll just write this on my own in my room. So I think that the other side kind of comes through quite nicely. It's like I wouldn't want to have to fully switch into a different mode, because otherwise it's like, oh, this doesn't feel like me adding anything to the song. But I find it quite easy to differentiate, and I love it because it's like it's a different muscle in it. You know how it is. It's like
does it complement your own writing, do you think?
Oh my god, yeah, because I feel like it gives you an outlet for things that you wouldn't necessarily try yourself.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you're an artist, it's so easy to have your own parameters and things that you'll
pigeonhole
be like,
yourself maybe
exactly.
a bit.
And I think that's good to have, because it's how you kind of find an identity. But sometimes you get sort of centered into this whole of like, this is how it has to sound. I can't mention this thing, or like that's too cheesy for my artist thing, even though that might not be the case. But then you write with someone else, and then your kind of brain opens up a bit, because it's like, oh, you've had this outlet to do things you wouldn't necessarily do yourself for your own artist. And then eventually it's like, oh no, that's now in my vocabulary, so I'm just gonna start using some of those things. So I think it's so beneficial.
It's all just experience gathering and stuff, I guess, collecting it. And
yeah.
Do you have any kind of top tips, best practices for writing, whether it's for yourself or other people? Is there?
Oh, I don't know, man. I think there's I almost love the really cheesy idea of like, there's no tips ever. Do you know what I mean? Because I love, like, I do honestly think, like, deep down that the best sessions are always ones where there's no like bullshit going on. There's no like overthinking, or it just happens. But then I think like maybe the best tip that I remind myself before I die on a chair on a podcast. The best tip I remind myself all the time is like not to overthink it. Because I think sometimes, or actually I'll rephrase it, like not to overthink it at like the right time. Because sometimes it is valuable to overthink something, like you're trying to find the right lyric for verse 2. It's like, dig for it,
I think it's like momentum is probably the overriding thing you want to be chasing, rather than just bogging down. And also, and there's nothing more stale than watching someone just get completely brain locked on something.
Exactly. And I think it's like, and that's kind of part of not overthinking for me, is like, if you need to dip it, it's fine. Like if you spend 2 hours, any amount of time,
not high
it doesn't matter. If it doesn't feel right, it's like you can just bin that and then start again on something else. Like, and I think sometimes there's a bit of this, I've done it so much where you think like, no, I have to get something good out of this, or like it's a new session where I'm like, I have to get this song out of this. And most of the time when I think like that in a session, it's never going to be. Yeah, it's just like not going to be that song.
I don't know if did you do a lot of Zoom sessions over lockdown?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How'd you find those?
I think I hated it, right?
Okay,
but then I grew to love it. Like
you had to. I mean, you had to.
And I think I like doing it with people that I had already written with, because you know the dynamic, and it's like, okay, I know how. I didn't necessarily like it with new people on Zoom.
Well, there's just so much, you have to over animate yourself quite a bit.
Yeah, and also like you lose the like intimacy of being in a room and like
getting a coffee,
and like
stepping
chilling,
outside.
And it's just very much like, here's a scream of the person.
Yeah,
it's just something about it. Just and I wrote with some really lovely people, and I don't think I wrote any like bad songs on Zoom. Like I enjoyed it, but it just didn't click with like. Do you know what I mean? What did you like it? Did you love it?
It just laying into what we kind of laying in. I don't know. Laying into what you said. Going back on what you just said. For me, Zoom is what taught me that you don't have to finish it there and then.
100%.
And I would have, over the weeks of lockdown, multiple songs kind of working simultaneously and kind of adapting and mending. And ultimately, I think it has made me a much better songwriter for that fact, because once you take the pressure out of it, and I get it a lot with newer artists and newer writers I work with, who have this overwhelming sense of urgency to get this thing done. Yeah. And then it just pulls out all the creativity, because they're aiming for something that you won't be able to achieve. Yeah,
definitely. I agree. And I think it has done the same for me without really noticing. Yeah. I think I'm never really a writer to kind of go back on songs after they've been written. I'm 95% of the time, the day it's written is like how it will be. But doing Zoom sessions was definitely like, okay, you can jump back in for an hour in a week.
Just live with it.
And just live with it. And then be like, and also like most of the time I'd be finishing with demos that I'd like voice noted. And I love that now. Like you don't feel that attached to it. And then you can go back and be like, I'll tweak this, as opposed to like, I've got this whole demo. If I tweak it, we have to go back in with the writers and the producer. And like, do you know what I mean? So
also, I think there's such an important thing with sleep. I mean, it's one of the books I actually read last year, Why We Sleep, is an incredible book. But just the processing of information and allowing yourself 24 hours, and suddenly all these other ideas come, or solutions to the problems you went to sleep with, and this and the other. That you can't do that if it's a one-day session. That's why I always push for 2 days if it's in the if the vibe's right there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean it's an elusive kind of mysterious plane, the songwriting creative pool, but I do love it.
I love how many different sides of it there are. Yeah, it's sick.
And there is no one right
exactly,
one.
Exactly. And that's why I always come back to my thing of like, I don't know what tips I'd give, because it's like there's so many different sides, and like the best songs in the world, and not even like the best songs, but the ones that people love the most. Like all of my favorite songs of all time are probably written completely differently. And it's like, okay, so there's no right way. Exactly.
2 months.
Exactly. So I kind of try to remember that it's like, oh, you can just do whatever. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
And on, I always ask this at the end of the podcast. What's your why? What's your reason for doing this at all?
Damn. For the money. Joking. Could you imagine? For the stability, the money, reliability. Like,
he's delusional.
No,
he's off his rocker.
He's crazy. I think it's just because I really love, like, I just really love music. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, as cheesy as it is, it's like, I kind of don't, as much as I do care sometimes too much, and I try to teach myself not to, but I kind of don't care about the like numbers side of things, and that side is like, oh, great when it's great and utterly terrifying when it's not. Yeah. But like really the like center of it is that I really love writing songs. I love playing songs, and I love like the relationships of like meeting people in music and doing it. Like it's all just comes down to like, I just really enjoy that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Well, we will see you in your own unfiltered stage patter this evening.
Wait, there's a gig tonight?
You busy?
Credits roll.
Uh-oh. No, we need to talk about this seriously. You need to
take it very seriously. No, I haven't sold any tickets. I didn't sell any tickets.
No, it's sold out.
Oh,
that's
great.
That's thanks to me. So
great, mate.
And on that note, I like to end with a very awkward wave to camera. Thank you.
That is the best wave of all time.